All right. Good morning, guys. I don't know if you guys are familiar with David the Good. If you've ever seen my green shirt that said "Compost Your Enemies," that's from David the Good. I think he changed his channel name to a dangerous or survival gardener. Survival gardener. Um, Paren David the Good. I think that's what it is. So he is big on big gardening, old-fashioned gardening, traditional gardening, row gardening, gardening making very large amounts of food. And lately, he has been asking me if I want to do some books with him. And the first one he requested was about milk goats. He has, I think, 9 kids, maybe 10 kids now. Hey, Thomas. He has a lot of kids to feed, and they grow a massive garden, but they're not so much into animals. What are you doing in there, honey? You're really loud. So he said that he buys about 10 gallons a week of raw milk for his kids so that they grow up strong and healthy and have good teeth and that kind of thing. And so he went onto my Etsy store and he bought my milk goat book. That's my little PDF, but he felt like it just didn't have enough information and that I had more information in my videos than what I was including in my little ebook. So, hey, Anastasia. Hey, William. Hey, Living for My Lord. So him coming to me and saying, hey, do you want to write a book with me? He has a book called Survival Gardening, and he has How to Compost Everything. He has some really great books that just teach you how to think about gardening, not necessarily how to books, but more in changing your paradigm. And when I read his How to Compost Everything book, it gave me the confidence to just do my hotbeds. And so writing a book with him sounds very interesting to me. But I feel like I've already made so many videos and I've written again this little ebook that I already have about goats. So I thought maybe if I just came on and you guys could ask questions and I could run through my most important advice on milk goats, maybe that would be helpful. So Awakening and Aware said, my first spring off grid, much to do, clearing brush soon for gardens. Awesome. Sounds like an adventure. So I'm going to just start with pretty much the information that's inside my ebook. And that is, when you're starting with milk goats, you want to start with a goat that's in milk. The reason for that is that people can make claims up and down about how wonderful a baby goat's mother is and say, oh, she's my best milk goat. And yeah, this baby's going to be amazing. But the thing is, unless you take that mother goat home and milk her yourself, you don't have milk in your house for another year. If you start out with baby goats, you have a year as a minimum before you get milk out of that baby. And so even if you bought that baby very inexpensively, you really don't know for that specific animal whether or not they'll be easy to milk, whether or not the milk is going to taste good, whether or not you're going to like their personality. You really don't know. It's just such a gamble to start goats with baby goats. Robert said, goat milk and buttermilk, I can't do. Yuck. So that's the reason why it's really important to get an adult goat, is because genetics vary a lot. The flavor of the goat's milk varies a lot. Throughout the years, when for whatever reason we'd been out of goats for a little while and we came back into goats, it can be very difficult to find a goat that has good flavor. Currently, we have a goat named Frost, and her milk tastes like ice cream. It literally tastes like ice cream. It's ice cream and bananas. So like one of those, what are those called? Those banana popsicles you buy when you're in junior high school. What are those called, babe? Creamies. So her milk tastes like a banana creamy. And she has massive amounts of cream in her milk. And then, honey, you're right in the light. Come on and either go get your bedroom clean or come in here with Dad, okay? And so we have one goat whose milk tastes like ice cream. And then we have another goat whose milk just tastes like milk. It doesn't taste like goats. It doesn't taste like cow's milk. It just, it tastes like milk. It's kind of nondescript. And one goat is a Guernsey. One goat is an Alpine. And we've also had Nubians. We've had mini Alpines. We've had Nigerian goats and dwarf Nigerian goats and La Manches. We've had everything in between. And really what makes a difference is that individual goat. Her babies may not carry her sweet milk gene. Her mother may not have carried her sweet milk gene. Her father may have been who gave her the sweet milk gene. And you don't know that unless you try a particular goat's milk. Good morning, Darlene. So my biggest advice is find goat people in your area and then go to all the different dairies in the area and try the individual milk of the actual goat that you're thinking of buying. And you want it to be chilled. You don't want it to be warm milk. Warm milk tastes very different from cold milk. It can develop flavors after it's cooled. And at the same time, you want to milk the goat while you're there on the farm. You want to interact with the goat while you're there on the farm. You want to interact with the other goats while you're there on the farm. Let's see, I have over 30 years of experience with goats. I am 42 and I got my first goat when I was 10. And it took a year to go from buying that baby goat to getting milk from that goat. And she was a fantastic goat, and that was all great and good, but it means we had a whole year without milk. And we had all that feed and the shelter and everything we put into that goat. And what if she turned out to be a bad goat? You know, what if her milk had been terrible? Then I would have had that whole year into that goat. And then in the end, I would already love this goat. And yet I'm not going to keep a goat that has bad tasting milk. And so I don't know what to compare it to, except like maybe treat it like a car that you bought. You wouldn't leave the, cars don't come from baby cars. I don't know. When you're getting into any kind of venture, whether it be pigs or goats or rabbits, you want to taste the product before you commit to buying it. And so, for instance, when we got into the goats that we currently have now, we did not buy baby goats. I went and bought one goat, and she was not inexpensive. She was about $300, but I went and milked her. We asked the lady we were buying the goat from to separate the milk out the night before so that we knew only this goat's milk went into that jar that we were going to taste, only this goat's. And we tasted it, and she had good milk, and she was super easy to milk. And we took her home, and we loved on her for 3 months. And then after 3 months, we decided, well, we want a backup goat. So we went back to the same dairy, different genetics, different line, and milked and tried the milk from Frost. And she was great. And so we brought her home. But I no longer buy baby goats, ever. What I do instead is I'll buy a good goat, and then I'll breed her to a good buck. And any babies that I'm going to keep have to come from my own goats. I'm not willing to pay $200 or $300 for a baby milk animal because I really don't know what I'm getting. And if I'm going to experiment with a new young animal, it needs to be one that came for free as a result of me having bred my own doe. Living for my Lord, so definitely good advice for those with the finances and time and local resources. Yeah, I'm really only talking to people who want to get into goats. Just hay prices and grain prices and lumber prices to build a shelter are the biggest expenses you have when you're getting into any animal. And so it costs just as much to feed a bad goat that only gives a pint of milk a day and has terrible tasting milk. It costs the same amount to feed that goat as it does to feed my goat that gives me over a gallon a day of milk that tastes like ice cream. And it costs me the same amount to feed these animals, and my biggest cost is in feed. And so why would I keep around a goat that's questionable or that only gives, okay, so she cost me $100, maybe $150. Maybe this goat cost me $150. This goat cost me $300. But this goat is going to give me 7 gallons of milk a week. 7 gallons of milk a week from this $300 goat. And at least in my area, good goat's milk or even bad goat's milk costs $12 a gallon. And so it takes very little time for this goat to pay me back. When we have, what are you guys doing?
He's chewing on your.
Let's see. What we also do is that when the market is good, we can sell the baby goats that are born that we decide not to keep to help pay for hay, or we can eat the baby goats. And so I find goats to be incredibly valuable on our homestead. We also use our goats to raise baby lambs. When we get bum lambs for $15 or $20, instead of getting a very expensive milk replacer that's $80 per bag, and you need one bag to feed each baby for the 3 months it takes to get them to weaning. $80 is a lot of feed to put into a baby lamb that may or may not survive, because sometimes they're quite delicate. So what we do instead is I graft the lambs onto the mother goats, and they feed them, they love them, they think that they're their own babies, and I don't have to worry about washing bottles or loving on lambs. And so the goats save me money there. If we make cheese, let's see, it says that it's trying to be unstable. Hopefully it comes back. No, it's fine, honey. I don't think you being on the phone makes a difference. When I make cheese for the family, the whey that came off that cheese goes to the pigs. So the goats also feed the pigs. And then we use the manure from the goats to put around the base of fruit trees. And so the goats give so much more than they take on the homestead. Can you turn it off, honey? Thanks. What was the other thing? I keep losing my train of thought. Fertilize the fruit trees.
They give us like a gallon of milk a day still.
Milk a day still. Yeah, I totally don't remember what I was going to say. I'll go to comments and hopefully it'll come back to me.
They give a lot more
So you can spend $1,500 to like $3,000 to get a milk cow. But along with the milk cow, you need a trailer, you need a truck, because you need to be able to get that animal to the vet. With my goat, I can put down a tarp and a blanket and put them in my minivan and take them to the vet. When I was a kid, we had milk cows. We had brown Swiss, as well as Holstein steers, and a half Jersey, and then Angus. So those are the breeds that we had when I was a kid. And my dad only ever lost money on milk cows because they just weren't terribly tough. They're not terribly tough. And so when if you already have mostly small animals, buying a cargo trailer, some kind of trailer, a horse trailer for getting a cow around and needing a truck. If you don't have any other large animals, there's no reason to have that equipment. And it's sometimes hard to get cows bred. A lot of times you have to do it with AI because you don't have a bull locally. Whereas with goats, it's not that big of a deal to drive them to somebody with a buck, breed them, bring them back, put them in the minivan. If you have a small homestead, goats are amazing. The trick is do your homework, taste the milk of the individual goat that you want to buy, milk the individual goat you want to buy, and then buy that goat. Make sure that you get the right goat. It makes a massive difference. $3,000 for a cow, $300 for a goat. You can buy a lot of goats for one cow. And then if you lose one of those goats, you're not losing everything. All right. Robert said, this is great information. I've eaten goat meat. It's oily meat, but great flavor. I'd never noticed that our goat meat was oily. If you have a goat that remains intact, if you have a buck goat, they can have a very wild flavor to their meat that is unpleasant.
Like the goat milk.
Yeah.
Skunk.
Kind of like skunk. If you get a bad goat, the milk tastes like skunk, and it's bad. Like there is no two ways about it. Goat's milk can be very funky. But a good goat, the milk is amazing. Let's see. Hey, babe. Okay, so let's see what else. That's pretty much it. I really think if you find the right people and you find the right goats in your local area, then goats are really a no-brainer. But you need friends. You need people who are experts on goats. It's not quite the same as pigs and chickens and rabbits, not really, because with a milk animal, you have, there are tricks. There's more interaction with the milk animal than there is with a lot of other livestock. You get very connected to them. You get very bonded to them. Most milk goats were raised with bottles. And so even if you didn't raise them yourself, they're very connected to people. Our goat Frost, she talks to us all day. She wants us to know what's going on in her life. And she's much more settled when we're out there just sitting next to her while she eats. A lot of goats are like that because they were bottle raised. And so they will be bonded to you whether or not you actually bottle fed them. The other thing that connects a goat to you emotionally is that if you're there when her babies are born, her hormones are very strong for about 2 weeks after she gives birth. And the more time you spend with her, the more you pet her, the more you interact with her babies, the more you milk her, the more connected she gets to you to where she actually thinks you're her baby. And a goat that has just arrived on your property may be a lot more skittish than what you expected. And if you wait and give her time until after she's had her first set of babies in your homestead, she will be connected to you after that. But a lot of times, like with Kyanite, when we first got her, she was skittish and jumpy and nervous. And she was like that for the first 4 or 5 months that we had her. And so after we'd had her 4 or 5 months, she'd been bred. And so I think we've had her 7 months now, something like that. After she had her babies, she had a complete change of personality as far as what she thought about us. And now she stands to be milked on the ground. We don't need a stanchion. You don't need to hold her to milk her. And so the first pregnancy, the first birth that she has on your farm will bond her to you more than she was when she first came to you. Hello, Maria. Shout out to your daughter, Nika. Hello, Nika. What else have we found? We just find that having a source of milk on the homestead is a source of health and saves you so much money. Even your chickens and your ducks can eat milk if you clabber it. If you put vinegar in it and culture it, you can put it in their grain. Can you let him in so he's not just scraping? Again, pigs can eat it, can feed it to the cats. We have 3 goats, and the reason for that is that I like to have backups. 1 goat for us is enough to provide all our drinking milk. Having 2 goats gives us enough milk to also do cheese. 3 goats means we have a backup. If one of our other 2 goats has something happen to them, we have as many goats as we need still. And that's what we do.
At the moment, we have 4.
5.
5? You
5.
sure?
Because we already had 3, plus we have 2 now.
Oh.
Right now, we have a friend that wanted to do lambs, and then she got sick. And she has milk goats. She's the source of our own herd. And she'd been planning on doing baby lambs this year and then just had too much on her plate. So she loaned us 2 goats so that we could raise a couple extra lambs. And so we actually have 5 goats right now. And 2 of them are used just primarily to nurse baby lambs. And then the other 2 we're milking. And then the last one, she's pregnant. She took a lot longer to get pregnant this time. So we have one last batch of baby goats that will be born in probably July. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Jack. So what else? We buy really good quality hay for our goats, and we don't give them a lot of grain. When we do give them grain, we mix it with sunflower seeds, beet pulp pellets, alfalfa pellets. Did I already say sunflower seeds? So sweet feed, alfalfa, beets, sunflowers. And we mix it like that so that they're not getting too much grain. We like them to eat very slow. We like to be able to milk them slow. And we don't put them on a stanchion. We don't clip them to anything. We just pop them out of their pen, put the grain down, wash their bag with a washcloth, nice warm washcloth, and then we just milk them. And because the feed is mixed and they have to pick through it a little bit. They are entertained by just picking through the grain, and we don't have to have a stanchion or anything. Jack said, can raw milk regrow bone tissue? You know, I don't know about that. I know that we have had our teeth regrow. I have cavities that filled themselves back in, or cracks in my teeth that filled back in when we started drinking raw milk again. But we also do oil pulling with coconut oil. So I don't know if the two are related, but I know that we have had no dental bills since drinking raw milk and oil pulling. But I don't know about bones themselves. I know the only experience I've had is with teeth.
But that's the only part that we can actually see.
Lauren said, you guys going to the wedding in July for B? Yeah, are you guys coming up? That would be super fun. Lauren is my little cousin. I don't think we actually have a date yet. So let's see, what else? We have 1.5 acres of property, and a lot of the money that goes to buy things like goats comes from the other animals, like from selling rabbits, from selling pigs, from selling tree starts. A lot of that rolls back in to giving us the money to do things like goats and to spend money on goats that are worth having. So Lauren said if she gets invited. Well, I don't think they've set a date yet. That's my understanding, is they don't have a date yet. My little brother is getting married here in a few months, and that will be very exciting. All right. So, and this is why, and I'll end the stream with this. This is why I have a hard time writing books about goats, is because if you get the right goat, it's very, very simple. If you have the right friends that already own goats that can teach you about goats and help you when births are happening, it's very, very simple. If you get goats that are sick, if you get goats that are not good stock, if you get goats where you didn't try the milk first, if you get goats where you didn't try milking them first, the odds are that you're going to maybe not have as good an experience with goats, because you do need to come about it in a very deliberate way. But I think the best thing to do is find friends who have goats, spend a lot of time with them, learn about them, and don't buy a goat just because somebody told you to buy a goat. You need to actually like the goat itself and like the milk. Let's see. Maria said, hello from the Philippines. I'm Teresa. Did also drink or sell out your goat milk? And do you also know how to milk a goat? Yes, we have 3 goats. I don't sell our goat's milk. It costs too much to homestead for me to diminish in any way the food that comes onto our table. We don't, our grocery budget versus our homesteading budget is delicate. And the more careful I am not to keep more animals around than what I need just to feed my family, the better our budget is. I will sell extra animals, but I won't sell farm products, if that makes sense. There's too much work into it. It's too hard to make a profit farming to farm for money. Instead, I farm for the health of my family. All right, so yeah. That's it. So, yeah, I struggle thinking about writing a book because there's just, the only way you really learn is by doing, and the best way to learn and do is with a friend that already knows how to do it. So anyway, I'm going to go read some books and take some naps because it's Sunday, and hopefully you guys have a good Sunday too. And we'll talk to you later.